Hi, I'm Sean Dukes from Learnsmarter, and today I want to show you how you can send an Adobe Sign document in Salesforce Lightning or in Salesforce Classic using a flow, linking that up to a button or even to a formula field where you can use a hyperlink. So before we go any further, I just want to add this. I don't work for Salesforce, I don't work for Adobe. This is just a video based on my own experience. But essentially, if the video doesn't work, then please, I think you really need to get in touch with Adobe support because they'll be the people who'll be able to help you. Okay. So in the video today, we're going to do a number of things. We're going to look at the prerequisites, basically the things you need to get started. We'll look at some basic configuration that I did. I'll show you how you create a document template. I'll then show you how you can link that very easily to a button so you can send it using Classic or Lightning. And then we're going to build a flow, because if I can put that document signing process into a flow, then that gives me incredible flexibility to do all sorts of things and distribute it in other ways. And we're going to do that on both the standard and a custom object. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is to sign up or have an account with Adobe Acrobat. And this is the application you need, Acrobat Sign Solutions. These ones don't work, Standard and Pro. You need Acrobat Sign Solutions. You can sign up for a free trial by clicking this button here. Once you have that, if you then look at the instructions for Adobe, it tells you in the overview here, in the installation guide, that you should properly provision this in the Salesforce channel. To do that, you need to raise a support case with Adobe. So you can do that through this chat window here. You can actually raise the case, but you do, in theory, need to get Acrobat Sign provisioned in the Salesforce channel. The other thing that's important is the email address that your Acrobat Sign account is linked to needs to be the same as the email address that your admin is using. So that's important. And everything else, for the purposes of this video, we don't need to worry about, but they are the key things. Then you need to install the apps from the App Exchange. And you actually need to, or I'd recommend that you install two apps. So this is the first one, Adobe Sign, which you install, but also you should install this app too, which is Adobe Sign Document Builder, because it makes the whole process very much easier. Right, so once you've got those apps assigned, we need to give ourselves permission to use them. So I've already done that, but you can see here on my permission set assignments, I've got the Acrobat Sign integration user and the Acrobat Sign document builder admin. So we have those two permissions assigned to my user, and then I can go ahead and create the documents. Once you've done that, come to this tab here, the Acrobat Sign admin, and you need to run through this setup wizard. Now, I've already done this, but essentially it's very straightforward, and that will connect you up to your Adobe account to your Salesforce account. Okay, so now that that's done, we're ready to start building an agreement. And to do that, I come to the agreement templates. I'm going to create the first agreement based on the contact object. By the way, this error has come up every time for me. It doesn't stop anything happening as far as I'm aware. So I'm going to do a contact proof of concept, contact POC, as I'm calling it. I'm going to save that. And then on the first page that comes up, I don't really need to do very much at all. I do need to select the object. You can see here 3 objects come up by default, but you need to choose from another object. The one I want is contact. And this will be the same if you were using a custom object as well. So I look for the object, and the only other thing I need to do on this page is to click Auto Send, because what I want is these agreements to automatically send out. So as soon as the agreement is created, it gets sent out. Obviously, you might not want that, but for this demo, that's the way I've got it configured. Right? The next thing, I'll just save that quickly, but the next thing I need to do is then to start building my merge document. So to do that, I come to the attachment here, and this bit here, this create a new template, you won't see that if you don't have the document builder installed. This is why you need the document builder installed. It makes things a lot easier. So I'm going to click to create a new template, and I give that template a name. So this is the contact template. Okay, I'm going to create that. And then you can select a sample data record. So I'm going to use just Alicia here, and then I click Next. Essentially, the process if you're using a custom object is exactly the same. Then I need to add the fields in that I want to use in my document. You can come back and you can add more fields later, but I want to use last name. I want to use first name. And I want to use the account. So to get the account name, when you click Add here, as well as seeing the fields directly on the contact record, you can see lookups too. So if you keep scrolling down through here, you can see the lookups. And there's my lookup to account. So I'm going to go to the account object and select the account name. I've selected the fields that I want. You can see them here. And then I'm going to click Next. So this bit here is the document tags. So you can see here, it's created a tag for each of these fields that I want to use. And I can copy those to the clipboard. So I'm going to copy, in fact, I'll copy the first name first. And what you need to do then is you need to go to the Word document that you're going to use as your merge document. So this is the Word document I've already got set up here. I'm going to put that name in there. So that's the first name. And then I'm going to grab the last name. And then I'm going to grab the account name. And that's my document. The other thing I need to put in then is the signature. Now you can just type this directly in. So I'm going to type that directly in. And this is the format, the exact format you need to use. It is possible, I believe, to automate that and essentially use a document builder to build that, but we don't need to do that. I can just paste that straight in. So that's going to be the signature field there. You can add additional fields to your document. You need to consult with the Adobe documentation to do that. This is just the basics. So that's it. My document is, I've got autosave on anyway, but at this point I now need to close that document. So the next stage then is back in Salesforce. I need to upload the file. You see here you can drop the files in. I'm just going to drag in that document I created earlier. So this is the document dragged in. And then I just click Next. And you've then got a preview button here. So you can preview the document. And there it is. So you can see it's merged those fields into the document. There's a signature field. And that's it. So that's cool. So close that. And now I'm going to just save and close. The next thing I need to do is I need to add a recipient. And I'm going to add a dynamic recipient. So based on the contact object, I'm going to use a lookup based on the master object field. And actually the field I'm going to use is just the contact ID. And that's all I need to do. And I click Save. Then, importantly, I also then need to save the template. That's really all I need to do. So that document exists. You'll see here the ID is over here. It's also up here in the address bar. I need that ID because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a way of sending this from the contact record. So next thing to do then is I go into the setup and go to the object manager, contact. So, and then you can see here you've got buttons, links, and actions. So I'm going to do a new button or link. Just before I do that new button, if you scroll down here, you'll see Adobe actually put some example buttons in there for you. So you can see that send for signature. That's something I've created. That's something that's been put in there by Adobe. And what this is for, you can see there the URL. So that URL is actually useful to you because we need to build a URL. And it's very, very similar to this, not exactly the same. Anyway, come back. So to create a new button or link, and I'm going to give it a name. So this is send for signature. I'll put POC in there. Send for signature POC. I can give it a description. This. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a detail page button, right? And then I want the content source is going to be URL. Now, then I use that information that was on that sort of pre-built button is useful to us, but it's not everything I need. So I do need some other stuff, and in particular I need the template ID. That's not the idea of my template. So my new template is this one here. So let's copy that and come in here, paste that in. So essentially you've got all this URL4 stuff. You need this master ID equals, and that's the contact ID, and then template ID equals, and then this is the ID of the template that we just created, right? And then we can save that button. Okay. So I want this to work in Salesforce Classic. Come to the contact page layout, and you can see here, if we come down here on the left, you see we've got buttons there, and there's my new button, and I can drag that onto the page like this. I can put it down there. And then if I save that, and you see if I'm in Salesforce Classic, if I refresh that, we should see the send for signature button there. So I can click that, and it should send that document. And it's sending, and it's actually sent. So I can see from my email that that's actually sent. So that's actually sent. If I just update that, you'll see that it says the agreement has been sent. So it's out for signature now. That's done. Okay. So that's it being sent in Salesforce Classic. I'll just switch into Lightning. What I'm going to do here in the Lightning experience, if I just go to edit the page, I'm using dynamic buttons here on this page. You'll see I've actually enabled dynamic actions, and I should be able to add another action here. So we can add an action, and we can see all the buttons, including my send for signature POC. So I can just click, whack that on the page like that. I'm going to put it at the top so I can see it. There we go. And save the page. And we'll see here my button is there. And I'm just going to click the button. And this time it doesn't open in a new window, it opens in the same window. And it's sending it. And it sends it. So you can see that it's sending it. If I update that, it has now sent. So we can see that the agreement has now been sent. We'll be able to see that. So you can see it's out for signature. So what happens is, this is the email like that. So my agreement's been sent out for signature. That's the email I would receive. This is the email the customer receives, and the customer can click on it and they can sign it. So that's the document is created. We can send it out. We know that it works. We know it works in Classic. We know it works in Lightning. And with that knowledge, I can then go on to add that into my flow so we can see it working in a slightly different way. Click the new flow button. The flow I'm going to create is actually a screen flow because I want to launch this on a Lightning page. It needs to be a screen flow. But it could be, depending on how I wanted to launch it, I could create this as an auto launch flow, which we'll look at in a minute. But this time it's going to be a screen flow. So let's go to screen flow and create. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of auto layout, so I'm going to do that. What I want to do is I need to create a resource. The resource is going to be a variable, and it's called record ID. And it's really important that you name it exactly like this. It must be, and it's case sensitive as well. So this is a past record. So this is the record that's going to be passed in, and the data type is text, and it's available for input. So when you use a flow button on a Lightning page, it will pass in the ID of the record, and it passes it into the flow as record ID, and that's why you use that. So that's set there. And then I just come to the elements here, and we're going to drag an action onto the page. And if you actually search for echo, because this is the one I want, load agreement template. I don't want send, I want load. The reason I'm using load and not send is because my agreement template already automatically sends, so I don't need a separate send action. So And what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the template ID. So if I come to the agreement, if I come to my agreement, then I can get the ID of it and then come back to my flow builder and I'm going to paste that in there. So obviously if you're doing this from a sandbox, you would need to, you could do this dynamically, so you could possibly select that ID or look for it by name. And then with the flow, it's possible to do that, so you don't have to hard code it. But in this case, I am hard coding it. This is the org I want to use it in. But if I wanted to deploy it to another org, I would need to change that depending on the destination org. And then the master record ID is just the record ID. So I just pass that in and then that's it, done. So I connect those two things together like that. And that's going to basically loan us in my document. Now, although this is screen flow, I don't actually need a screen to be on it in order for it to be a valid screen flow. This is a valid screen flow right now. I could put a little screen on the end just saying, just some little message. So let's just put a little message on there. But it isn't necessary to have this. It just might make it easier when we get to see the flow. And then we're going to give the screen a property. You could use other things. So you could, there are available apps that might, for example, give you a toast message or something. Salesforce doesn't have one natively. But anyway, I'm just going to have a little screen here. Done. Connect that up. And that's it. That's my flow is going to be done there. And we're going to save it. Okay, so there's my flow. Save it. And I'm going to activate it. That flow exists. You see it's really simple. Come to the contact record here. And I actually need to go to the object, so let's go to the contact object. And then I come down here to buttons, links and actions. This time a new action, and the action type is flow, and there it is, it comes up. Just because it happens to be with A, otherwise I'd have to search for it. So I'll give it a nice descriptive label. So that's it. I'm going to save that. And you see it's in the buttons there now. Sample Flow POC, you see it's there. And then I just go to my content record page, edit the page. So we've got the buttons here. If we scroll down, we can add an action. And there it is, there's my quick action there. So just select that quick action, select done. I'm going to drag this again up to the top. Right, let's go back to the page. And there it is. So now there's my new button, and this is the button that runs the flow. And all I need to do now is just click it, and it will run the flow. It's now sending that document, and it takes a few seconds. And then I'm done. So that's it done, that flows over. So that has actually sent it. So in my email, there we are, it's just been sent out. So that's how you then can use a flow and connect it to a button. Now the final thing to do is to show you, so what we really want to do now is something tricky, which is put it on a custom Visualforce page, and that doesn't support, unfortunately, custom buttons like the ones we've been using. So this is a bit more old school, really. So let's have a look at how we can put it on a custom Visualforce page. So fundamentally, everything we've seen is the same, except that this agreement template is based on a different object. So this is based on a custom object. Everything else is exactly the same, really, as the way that we've been showing you in the object, except the attachment there. You can see there's an existing document there which we've already created. See the digital agreement, see the attachment there, have a look at that template. So you can see that where the fields are, those fields have already been created. So it's very, very similar to the process of getting a field from the contact record. In this case, we're getting fields from a different record, but we can look up to other objects. So from this particular object here, which is called booking, has a lookup to a primary contact. The field is called lead contact, and that's actually a lookup to a contact record. So these fields are coming from the contact record. I can just add those in there. I've got fields coming from a course record in there, and that's all good. So that's done. And then if I go to the tag the document, I can get the same tags, which is exactly the same as I did earlier. And then we upload the template. So we've uploaded the template, and then we can preview it. So this is my template. So let's have a look at it. Oh, I've got to get some sample data. Good point. So let's pick up a record. So this is my sample document. It's got the fields there from the contact, fields there from the object, and from lookup to the course object, and then there's our signature field. So really, really similar to what I was doing before, exactly created in exactly the same way. Then to send this, I create a flow again, but the flow I've created is slightly different because it's essentially an auto-launch flow rather than a screen flow. Because this is auto-launch flow, it doesn't have any screens on it, obviously. But I've just simply, all I've got is the start button and the load agreement. And all that's got in agreement template ID and the record ID. Again, we're passing that into the flow. So I click done. I don't need to include those two things, in fact. So that's done. And then I can save that. I'll save it as a new version. I'm going to activate it. So this flow is to send from a link on a page, in fact. This is an auto-launch flow. And it's super simple. It has one thing in there, and you set two elements in that thing. It's activated. So to send that from a custom object, I'm going to go to the object manager here, and I want to send it from that bookings object. It's called registration object. There's my registration object. It has a, and then I create a custom field. So I need to create a custom field to send this. And actually, what I've done is I've already created it, so we'll have a look at how we created it here. And it's a very simple formula this time that I'm creating. If we go to edit, you'll see it in a little detail. So this is a hyperlink formula. Essentially, it's very straightforward. So we put the flow itself, if we go to the flow, then it will give you the parameters to send in there, the parameters for the actual flow itself. And then we want to pass in that same record ID. So you put a question mark at the end of the flow, and then record ID equals. And then we pass in the ID of the record, and then we have a little label, send it, like that. So that's the syntax that you need, and we would save that, right? I haven't changed anything, so I'm going to cancel it. And then in this particular case, this is going on a custom Visualforce page, and that Visualforce page supports field sets. So on the field set, this is the form I'm going to put it on. This is in the field set. And what I've done is I've just dragged that link into the field set. And then if I go to a registration, you can see this is an older style custom Visualforce page actually, but with the field set I'm able to put that link on the page, so the link is there. And so if you can't put it on a button, you may be able to put it on a link. So I can put it on the link there, and I can click send it, and it will send. It actually opens up a new tab, and it sends it. So it's sending out the document right now, and then it comes up with this message saying your flow finished, which isn't perhaps the nicest experience, but that's a bit of a limitation of using this with a custom Visualforce page. But if that's not how you need to send it, that's how you can send it. And that's the end of my video. Thank you for watching.